Hey, it's Rebecca, and you are listening to Resilient by Design. Today, I am sharing the 5 things that I think have truly improved our ability to offer a good project management experience. So implementation, managing it from start to finish. And these are some really big key elements that we have changed from the way we used to do things. I'm not saying that we are perfect when it comes to project management and implementation. However, holy heck, have these helped us improve the way that we run a project. So here we go.
All right. I'm Rebecca Hay, and I've built a successful interior design business by trial and error, podcasts, online courses, and so many freaking books. Over the last decade, I've grown from an insecure student to having false starts to careers, and now I'm finally in the place where I want to be. Throughout my journey, it's been pretty obvious that I'm passionate about business and helping other entrepreneurs do the same. Each week, I'll share tangible takeaways from my own experience and the experiences of other badass women to help you build your confidence and change your business.
Are you as tired as I am working in a bubble? I mean, shoot. It's time to maybe socially distance with other people. That is why I love coming to the Collective Workspace. If you are someone who is looking for a little bit of stimulation, a lot of beauty, the Collective Workspace is a really great place to go. It is a co-working space for designers, architects, and builders in Toronto, and they're opening a second location this spring. They have flex workspace and offices starting at $120 a month. There's boardrooms, a podcast booth, which is where I am right now, concierge, storage, and a trade-only design library. You can find out more, or if you want to book a tour, go to thecollectiveto.com.
Okay, we've all been there. The chaos, the craziness. Oh, man. When a project is dragging on and our customers are starting to get a little bit frustrated because it's not finished yet, or, oh my goodness, how many more invoices am I going to receive? They're feeling tapped out financially. Like all of that project management and that client experience can be difficult. And I think that a lot of designers, especially, at least the designers who've been posting in our Facebook group, have been asking questions about, like, what do you do, like, in implementation? Like, when you're managing a construction project, like, how do you keep everybody happy? How do you manage the trades? How do you do all this thing? So I thought it would be a really great opportunity to do an episode of the podcast dedicated to what happens when you're implementing and managing a project all the way to the end. So what I've done is I've kind of like really reassessed, or not assessed, but assessed, not reassessed. I've assessed my business and what we have done to improve things, because I can tell you we don't have the words. How we run projects now is entirely different than how I ran projects 5 years ago, than how I ran projects even 3 years ago. I have seen, and I'm going to get preachy and really passionate for a second, because you guys love that, I'm sure. Oh my God, guys, I have seen a dramatic increase in client happiness, in design team happiness over the last 2 freaking years, just because of these few things and these few tweaks that we have done to our business model and to the way we do things. And this list is by no means exhaustive. There are lots of other little things that we do on a daily basis, regular basis, on a project basis that I think make our project management experience better, but we're still learning, we're still growing, and we still have a lot of opportunity to learn. And I'm going to share with you now the 5 things that I think have helped really dramatically improve our experience for customers and ourselves. But also I'm going to share that some of the things that I'm even thinking of changing in my own business, just as we grow and as the type of projects that we do change. So here we go. The first thing that has helped us really is having one clear person in charge of a project. When we first started out, it was me and a design assistant. Then it was me and a couple designers. Then it was me and like an administrator and a couple designers. And everybody had communication. I mean, oh my God, I'm laughing out loud when I look back on it. Oh my God. Disaster, Rebecca. Everybody would have communication with our client at some point, right? So somebody would be sending them an invoice. Somebody else is sending them a contract. Designers emailing them with a question. I would chime into an email as well. Different people showing up on site. We now have one project lead. That person is in charge of all client communication and is the go-to person for the contractor. We have Vera does the onboarding because we don't know if they're going to turn into a project, right? But as soon as that client hires us, signs the contract, pays the invoice, they are introduced to their project lead, and the project lead takes over. That is typically the design lead as well, who is in charge of the design. And I work with that person. I oversee the creative. I help them. I'm guiding everybody through. But having that one clear person in charge and having that one main client contact has simplified things beyond belief. And it's something that if you're a solo, you're like, well, duh, like I already do that, Rebecca, because obviously I'm the only one. But this is helpful for those people who are trying to grow and feel the growing pains of, well, who does what at what time? I can tell you at one point I had Vera doing the contract, and then I had also she was sending the invoice, but then if they had questions about the invoice, she wasn't really capable of answering them because that's not her department. So then it was like somebody else would chime in, I might chime in, but then there's also the designer, and there's like CCing all these people. I have seen how chaotic it can be when you have to answer to or get answers from multiple people in an organization. The companies that I see run the best are the ones that have one point of contact. And now this is where I'm going to share with you something I'm considering changing. Right now we have a designer who is the project lead. They may be intermediate, they may be senior, and they are the person who's in charge of overseeing the whole project management, right? They're in charge of timelines, deliverables, they're doing the design, they're getting the pricing, and they're doing everything. It's a lot for one person, especially if I want that great designer to help out and take on another project and another project. So right now, and I don't have the answer, and I'll put this in a podcast and then it might not actually come to fruition. So you know me, I just share things and thoughts in real time. I feel like most professional people in the world wait until everything's a done deal before they share. Not me. So we are exploring this idea of having a project manager, but not in the sense of construction. I think that most of us designers think of project management as the person who's overseeing the trades, but actually in the real world, a lot of companies have project managers, and they aren't necessarily a designer, nor do they need to be. And they would be that one point of contact, and they would be making sure the designer hits their deliverables, so I don't have to, and making sure that everything gets brought to the finish line, and then making sure that all the trades are coordinating and all those things. So that would shift our one point of contact from designer to a project manager, but essentially it's the same thing, it's just a different person. And that the reason I'm considering that change is just because as we grow, our projects are getting bigger. I mean, we're doing $500,000 reno and construction projects. And so I want to make sure that the designer is supported and can focus on what a designer does well, right? Which is design. And it's not often the administrative, setting up the Zoom call and things like that. But you have to have the finances to support that. And that's what I'm exploring at the moment. But anyhow, number one is having one clear person in charge. 2, and this will be no surprise, a clearly defined process. And within that process, separation between the design phase and the implementation phase. So you've heard me talk about this. I know, I'm sorry, I'm a broken record about process. I feel very strongly. I'm extremely passionate. That's why I have my course, the power of process because it is freaking powerful. Once I established a clearly defined process with steps, ours happens to be 7, everybody knew what to expect, which is a huge game changer. It used to be very chaotic. Clients were always emailing or calling saying, okay, well, then what happens? What happens next? What happens next? And I was like, I would make it up every time. I didn't really know. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go source the fabrics and let me circle back with you next week. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like being creative. And then when it came to construction, I wasn't prepared because I hadn't made design decisions, right? Like I'd made some decisions, but not all of them. Like the design phase and the implementation phase kind of were blurry. They kind of overlapped. They were sort of happening at the same time, which was a bit chaotic. It also meant that we didn't have a clear vision for the finished picture. It was kind of designing as we go, which can be kind of fun because then there's a lot of like, ooh, let's go do this now. But it's not a great way to run a business. I think if you're DIYing your own home reno, go for it, do it that way. But not when you're trying to run a business. Having a clearly defined process and separation. So ours is in phases, right? So we've got the consultation phase, design phase, and then implementation. It's very clear. So when we get to implementation, we can just focus. We're not focusing on reselecting a light fixture. We're not focusing on which cabinet hardware should we use for the kitchen? I mean, I've seen this on Instagram, like designers doing Insta stories saying, which cabinet pulls should we use for this kitchen? And the kitchen's already installed. The lights are installed. The counter's installed, the back. And I'm like, what the? Seriously? But the reality is, I used to do that too. I get it. You're like, well, I want to wait and see. You don't have to wait and see. And in fact, if you don't wait and see, it will be game changing. So having the implementation process as a separate phase means that when we're in it, we can just focus on making decisions about installation, helping the contractor, helping the trades, helping your builder. So that would be the second thing, is having a very detailed, clear process. Right on the coattails of that is number 3 that has helped improve our experience with project management, is having a full design package before we start construction. Let me repeat myself for the cheap seats in the back. Have a full, complete, detailed design package before you take a sledgehammer and you start construction. The reason for this kind of is tied in with number 2, with having a process, but the reason being that once you have made, I'll tell you, it's really hard to do that. Can I tell you that when we first started trying to do full design, like I thought I had done it. I'm like, this is everything. But actually it wasn't, because I hadn't factored in like the sconce lights, the door hardware, the cabinet hardware, the coffee table, like pillows, like I didn't think of everything. And so it's hard to get there. It's a lot of work, and you have to put in a lot of hours up front to make sure you're making every tiny selection. You're picking the trim molding, you're picking the baseboard, the profile, the height, you're pricing everything out. You're picking the light fixtures. What type of light bulb do you want, right? For the light color temperature, you're just selecting all of that up front before you've taken a sledgehammer. And so what's really helpful is that then you can focus on implementation, but you've got the full design package. So you can also, and this improves your process or improves your service level, because you can get multiple, you can get multiple construction quotes if you want, right? Because you have a full drawing package or you have a full decor package. You can get different drapery installers to quote. You can get every person can come in and give you your 2 cents, and they can't say, well, it depends on the design. Has that ever happened to you? And then you're like, well, it's going to be like this. Like, what do you think? No. When you have an actual drawing package with your floor plans, your elevations, your lighting plan, whatever is required by the scope, and even if it's decorating, it's having furniture layouts, you pick the furniture, you pick the swatches, you've got the fabric selected, you've placed CFAs on all of your fabric, like everything is designed. What it allows us to do is to move faster And we always can circle back to the main design and say, well, this is the reason why. See how it works together? We also include the design package in our site binder so that the contractor also sees the vision, as opposed to the contractor just looking at the drawings. It's helpful that they can get a sense of, oh, I see where you're going with this. Because also sometimes trades will question, right? But when they can see the whole package, they're less likely to question your design selections. So having that full design package has made everything move so much smoother, because also what we've done by doing this way is we are eliminating that decision fatigue, right? Decision fatigue is something that everybody gets, but especially homeowners when they're not used to going through this, right? Okay, now next week we're going to make a decision on lighting. And then the next week we're going to make a decision on the countertops. We're going to go pick a slab. And then, oh my goodness, it drags on and on. It's very tiring. The decisions are made up front so that then any decisions that are made are really just about construction and anything to do with the implementation. It has made that process so much smoother for us to have a complete drawing package. Everything is specified. All the lights are specified. All of the paint colors are specified. Within reason, we like to paint samples on walls, but like cabinet colors, everything. And it's printed and it's in a binder so that you're also eliminating a lot of that back and forth emails and phone calls. Although I'll tell you, honestly, even when we have a site binder, the contractor often, it doesn't even matter who the contractor is. Like, it happens all the time. They're like texting or calling. Hey, what's the paint color for the wall? I'm at the paint store. No. And this is where you have to hold back and not give in to just verbally telling them. I say this all the time. I'm like, I've got 10 projects on the go. I do not remember the paint color. But guess what? I gave it to you. It's in a physical binder on site. It's probably also in a digital copy. Please reference that. Because what I've found is if you start to just wing it and you're like, oh, and you quickly start looking things up, you're doing part of their job. And I get it. Contractors just want to like be there. Make their job as easy as possible by giving it to them early, right? So they have everything in front of them. And that way, if there's any discrepancies, they can help. They will probably point them out for you, hopefully, if they're a detail-oriented person. But also then you're not verbally saying something over the telephone, then afterwards you're like, oh my God, that was wrong. It's not brass. No, the light's not brass. Because when they call you and you're in a different headspace, maybe you're in a meeting with somebody, or maybe you're on the phone, or maybe you're in AutoCAD, you're not thinking about that project. So when you do the design up front, you're really in it. You're making all the right decisions and everything is clearly laid out. You refer them to that package and it makes everything so much easier. Okay, so that's number 3, full design package. Number 4. This is a good one. This is something that is relatively new in the last couple of years for us. Place all of your orders a minimum of 2 weeks before you start demolition. Place all of your orders a minimum of 2 weeks before you start demolition. Whatever it is that you're ordering for a project, whether it be lighting, maybe it's cabinetry, maybe it's tile, maybe it's flooring, plumbing, hardware, drapery fabric, whatever, we tell our clients, and this is outlined in our process, that we will place all of the orders, and only once we've started to place the orders and we get a sense of lead time, will we then schedule our kickoff on site. And kickoff isn't even demo. Kickoff is like we meet on site with the contractor, we review everything, make sure we're all on the same page, that scope hasn't changed or what have you, and we schedule demo. We will not start demo before we've started ordering. Because, and especially now, like in this crazy world we're in with this pandemic and delays still happening and material shortages, it is so important that you know if you're going to have your toilet or you're going to have your tub. I mean, I just did this with my own reno. Like, I didn't follow my own process. We started and like the tub hadn't been ordered and the tub was a special order 4 weeks. So there we were sitting for 2 weeks with nothing happening. I'm like, oh my God, Rebecca, how did I make these mistakes in my own house? Well, it's because I'm not following my process, right? I'm like, oh, I could just wing it because I'm not top priority. Gugh. Make sure you place all of those orders because then you can see, is there something that's back ordered? Do I need to reselect? And then you're not reselecting mid-reno when something else has already been installed and you realize, shoot, if I have to change that backsplash tile, I feel like I wouldn't have done this counter, but the counter's already installed, right? The more decisions you can make up front, the better. Once you place those orders early, then you can get a really good sense of if you need to reselect, if anything is back ordered, and then you can very confidently say to your contractor and your client, okay, like here's when we're expecting things. So we could probably start demo like September 21st, because by then the toilet will have arrived and like we're good to go. I always say to my clients, I would rather delay starting the demolition or starting the construction than start and wait. Because it's stressful enough, right? It's so freaking stressful. And there's nothing worse than a client coming to you being like, we want to reno our kitchen, like how soon can you start? Ugh, no, right? Because then and you have to fight back. You have to stand strong and say, there's a process. We need to select everything first. Then we need to place the orders and then we can schedule. And you can get the contractor in the queue. But that's number 4. And then number 5, which has been a game changer for us when it comes to the client side of things, is that we now only offer flat fee design, meaning we bill our fee structures based on flat fees. So like a fixed fee. And so we no longer bill hourly, which also means that we are collecting a large deposit up front. I'm not saying that you can't do hourly. People do it and they're very strict about it and they make money and it's not stressful. For me, it was chaotic. For me, it meant a few things for implementation. First of all, because it was hourly, and not my ideal client, I will add, clients would often hesitate to ask me to come to site to check something out. Clients would tell me, no, don't worry about coming when the tiler's here. I've got this. I can make sure that they do it right. Because they didn't want to spend money on my hours. And it was always a mistake because they don't see what I see. And then the tile is done and then I see it. And then I'm trying to fix it and I'm trying not to charge them money. The flip side of that, if you know your clients are on a budget, I would hesitate going to site when I knew I needed to be at site, because every time, and I'm sure anyone who's been doing this business for a hot minute, you will probably attest to this, that whenever you have that gut moment, there's like that moment where you're like, I feel like I should just go to site. I feel like I should just go. And then you're like, I don't really want to go. And I said I was going to meet this person. I'd like to go pick up fabric samples. So you know what? It'll probably be fine. It's just tile, right? Those are the times you regret not going to site. Always trust your gut. Go to site as much or more than you think you need to, especially when you're starting out. And so as a result, charging hourly, I would hesitate to go knowing that I don't want the clients to think I'm abusing, right, their money and my time. So charging a flat fee helped with that. The other way it's really helped with that in that implementation phase is that because we collect 75% deposit on our time, like our fee, sorry, not our time, but our fee, and all the goods that we're purchasing for them, we're not continually asking them for money. I used to have to negotiate invoices. Oh my God. We'd get all of our time tracked. Then we'd enter it all into the computer. And then we'd create an invoice. And I would see that invoice. And I'd be like, oh, shoot. I can't send them an invoice for $5,000. That's crazy. They're not going to value that I spent 6 hours reselecting tile, right? And so then began the negotiation internally with the team. Well, like, you know what, let's just charge them for 3 hours and it doesn't really make sense. And I would always negotiate internally my hours and then send it to the client and they would still argue it. And then I would often offer a discount and we'd go back and, well, how do you think the wording looks? I feel like you guys know what I'm talking about, right? You're looking at the invoice, you're like, you know what, maybe instead of saying we'll give it to you for less money, we put the invoice at full pop and then we apply the discount of this one item so that they can really see like that how much they would have paid if we hadn't discounted. You know that there's like a song and dance, right? Where like it all comes down to the wording and how they're going to see it, and like, do I want it to be just like cheaper or do I want a refund? But I don't want to discount my services because they say not to discount your service. Oh my God, the hours and the stress because I hate dealing with money. Frick. No, thank you. It has saved us in literally tens of hours, if not more, in implementation because we collect all the money up front. We still track our time internally so we can see at the end of the project, how profitable we were. But it means we're not going back to them, negotiating, and also they're not getting tired of writing checks, which at the beginning, everyone's like, yeah, great, I'll write you a check. Oh, this is exciting, right? By the end, they're tired because renovations are stressful. They feel like they're just bleeding money. And it was always like not knowing how much more money they were going to have to pay out because I would sometimes do like a high-low range of my time, but I was always over the high because I was terrible at estimating it. Totally underestimated how long it took me to do things. And so they would just get tired. And at the end, we'd kind of fizzle out and I would kind of let them kind of finish it if they were on a tight budget. Again, not my ideal client, but so collecting a flat fee with a large deposit up front has made the implementation, that project management experience go so much smoother. Okay, there you have it. Those are the 5 things. I did want to add a bonus because I was like writing all these things down and I realized, well, this is also like super key to our like whole project management experience. Wait for it. Taking a sip. I'm actually having a sip of rosé. Shh, don't tell anyone. It's Friday here. I'm recording on a Friday. I know you're listening on a Thursday or something, but some days just call for it. Okay. Reveal day. Reveal day, reveal day, reveal day. My experience working in television, I worked with the Property Brothers. I worked with Scott McGilvery on Income Property. And we recently worked on Love It or List It. Reveal days are the best freaking day. And if you can get to a point where you plan well enough to do it in one day, I mean, if it's a big house, it might be several days, but you have one reveal to the client, you will be, I don't know, what do you do when you're really happy? Like you will be on a boat, popping champagne, patting yourself on the back, dancing at the club, I don't know, sleeping all day, whatever you do to reward yourself, you will reward yourself. Because the first time we did a proper reveal where we freaking hustled and it was hard and the construction wasn't even done. We were pushing them to get done and they were like installing the I don't even know what they were still cutting the millwork and we're trying to put the flowers. Like it was so crazy. Actually, there's a YouTube video of that day on my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is just called Rebecca Hay. And it's the Harbor Street reveal. And that was the first time we did a big proper reveal. It was the first time we filmed it. I'm so stressed out. If you watch that video, you'll see my face. And we also had I was crazy. I had Vera trying to film us. It was a tiny condo. I had lifestyle photographers come, all the shots. I can't even use the shots from that day because the stress on my face, like the headboard came and it was too big. It didn't fit. Like, oh my God, so many things went wrong, but it was still a huge success. Reveal days are my bonus tip. If you can get to a place where you do them and you really coordinate. I mean, right now it's been very challenging for us because it's COVID times and we keep having to push the reveal days because of stock and back orders and shipping delays. We got to a point where we just felt bad for our clients. So we've decided to do it in stages, which is shitty. I'm sorry. It just is. It's not how I like to do it. That's when problems pop up because they see one thing without the other. That's why reveal days are amazing. When I used to have furniture delivered as it was ready, I'd be like, oh, we'll do the drapery next week. And then the week after the rugs are going to come. And then the sofa will come a couple days later. No, don't do it. Clients see something and they're like, oh, that Roman, like this literally just happened because we split up our reveals. Like, yeah, I don't know. The Roman, like there's something about it. It feels too big. And I had to go in and I said, it's lovely. I understand why you might think that because you have this dinky little light that we're replacing, but the light install hasn't happened yet. Wait until the new fixture comes because that's a much larger scale and I think you'll see how proportionate it is. I used to have conversations like that on the regular, defending my design, reassuring clients. We don't do that when we hold all the products for a big reveal day. There's none of this back and forth stress where the client starts to worry, is it going to work? Is it going to fit? They see the sofa, they're like, there's no way 2 chairs are going to fit. And even though you know they're going to fit and it'll be fine in the end, you spend all that mental time figuring out how to explain it to the client, stressing about it, waking up at night. No, doing a reveal at the end is amazing. Also, it's so fun. It's so fun for the clients to walk home and like be wowed and wined and dined. You know, we might do like a bottle of champagne. Like one time we got them a bottle of champagne and they just filled up their glasses and walked through the house with us, like drinking the champagne. It was so lovely. And you know what? Even the one reveal that I'm thinking of where we had the champagne, like there was an issue. As we're walking up, we're like, oh, interesting. There's water dripping from the ceiling here. Like it literally mid-reveal, like we hustled, everything's beautiful. It's like this 3rd story addition. We're walking through the space and oh my God, there's water dripping from the ceiling. But they were still super happy because they were so blown away by everything together. We had the contractor come that day, like put a bucket, we like sorted out the issue. Totally worth all the extra effort to get that reveal in one shot. And then you have a very clear, definitive closing. You can rectify your deficiencies or whatever after, but game changer in elevating our project management experience. Okay, there you have it. I'd love to hear from you guys. If you do any of these things and if you think that they've helped you, we obviously offer our Power of Process course a couple times a year. It will be coming up. I don't know when yet though. After Momentum for sure. We're going to relaunch Momentum this fall. So definitely stay tuned. If you want to know more about process, you can go to my website and you can get on the wait list for Power of Process and you can get more information, RebeccaHay.com/Power of Process. Guys, I hope this was helpful. These are just the things that have worked for me. I recognize that we are all different in our approach to design and what works for me may not work for you, but hopefully if there's anything here that you could take away and implement in your business, I hope it works. I hope it helps. And please always connect and let me know. All right. Have a great day, guys. See you soon.